Hey, so we're back. Um, so what we're gonna do here is like right now do the second part of the basics, which I didn't do in the first one, which is about like getting started with data. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back into our studio from where we left off. So remember there was this, but I'm gonna close. Should I start working our Markdown? Should I? No. Let's do some things here first. So yeah, so we have our script here. Let me just clear all of this. Okay. So like I said, we can have a we can do different types of manipulations in R, right? So for the first one, you can create variables like what I showed you. But right now, there's a little bit of a difference between doing x is equal to 1 and x is equal to, right? In R, so basically what you're saying is that um, R should, so the difference is when you say x equal to 1, it makes x equal to what has been typed over there, right? Which is a bit problematic when you do like other kinds of statements. But what this is typically how we understand variable assignments in other languages, right? Is that you want R to evaluate what is on this side and store it in X, right? I hope you get the difference. So this is saying that X should be equal to what has been written here, but this is saying that X is equal to the X equal to um, is equal to the evaluation of what is highlighted, so what is on the right hand side, and assign it to the variable on the left hand side, right? And so because of this, we would traditionally be using this notation rather than this notation. Okay, so we're using this. So this is how we do variable assignments in R, right? There's no need to go into like the details as to why. Just trust me. Okay, so you can do x equal to 1 like that. um, the other thing you can do is you can create a list, right? And so let's create a list that says that so let's say y is equal to from 1 to, I hope this works, I've never done it like this before. So let's highlight and run, and we have an error. Okay, so I think the better thing to do will be to see. So I'm learning as I go, forgive me. Um, thanks. So y is equal to, let's try this. If it doesn't work, you learn from my mistake. I know the way to do it. I'm just testing something else now. Okay, so this doesn't work. Okay, so let's just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So what we do here is we are going to create a list, right? So this C combines what has been, let me take this away, what has been like put into the parentheses, and it makes it equal to y. So when we run this, we have a new variable. Okay, so that's what I was trying to do, right? I was trying to use this notation, like the bracket, but yeah, R doesn't understand like that. So what you do is you put C, which means combine all these things that have been listed here, right? So that's how you create a list. And lists are really one of the ways that we'll be working with data. Um, you can do different kinds of assignments. So you can see that z is equal to 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2. You can also see that var 1. So we start to do, let me change this. We start to do more complicated things. So you can see var 1 is equal to x plus z, right? And these are all basic things that you've seen before, so I'm moving very fast, but what you see also is that you can do something like var z is equal to var1 minus y, then subset y and pick a particular one. So subset y4, which would pick the third variable, the third value in there, right? And you can just run all of this, right? And so in your console, the good thing about your console is even though you don't type it, you can see that things have actually been run. Do you see? So if you remember what I said about how it works, you remember what I said about how it works, you see that RStudio takes what you type in the text editor. So in this case, it's the script, and then it passes it into the actual engine. So you see that happening in the console. So yeah, so that's about like variables, and as we go, we'll learn more. So the next thing that we would want to do, and I'm gonna leave this here so that you can play around with this later. So, and I made a mistake when I was telling you. So when you click run, what run does? Oh, okay, cool. So when I was talking about running everything, when you press this, oh, okay, I'm wrong. And when you press run, it only works for the line that you highlight or the line that your cursor is on. So if I press this, it would only run for that. So if you want to highlight everything, if you want to run everything, you highlight it before you run it. Okay. So that's about that. So let's get into the other thing. So about working with data. And the thing about data is it's stored somewhere on your computer and R reads it from there. Okay. So what that would mean is when you are working, you need to know where you're working from, like which folder hours are looking in at this point in time. And so what you can easily do is check where you are. So the function or the method to do this is get wd, open and close bracket, right? And when you run this, you see the output here, right? So what is happening here is that it's working in this folder. So it's working in the Mauly folder, which I think is where RStudio is installed. Okay, so this is a default, right? Anytime you wanna read a file, it's always best to make sure that you've already set your directory to work from where the file is. Okay, so that you can just put all the files you're working with in that folder, and so you will just type the name of the file and it will pick the file from there. Okay, so it's getting interesting. So what you can do, so right now what I see is that if I'll show you, so this is the folder I'll be working from when I'm working with you, right? And the the thing is, you first have to know the what am I talking about? You first have to know the location of the data, right? And so what I check here is what am I looking for? Yeah, I'm looking for the name. Okay, yeah. So I see that it's in users. It's in my Mac hard disk. It's in users. It's in Mauly, and then it's on the desktop. And this is the name of the folder. So what I do is I just copy and paste that, and then I come back here, and instead of get wd, so you have to, these are simple things that you have to remember. What you do is set wd, right? And you take in, so what I do, like to be a cheat in all of this, is I just come and copy this, right? So that I get the start of everything correct, right? And so I separate the various locations with that's a backslash, yeah. And then, so I know it's on my desktop, That's the next layer. And then on top of that, I'm showing you how to work with this is uh, data science teaching, right? And when I press this, go back, when I run it, right, you see that it sets my it sets my working directory to where my data is, right? And so all I can do is I can check where I'm working from now, and you should see that it's changed. And so earlier, this is where we're working, but now since I did this, it's working from here. Okay, so that's great. Um, so what I will show you is, so there's this file here, and let me move into looking at this. Okay, so there's this file here called gym data, right? It's actually a very big file, surprisingly. So what we can do is we can move to the next stage of working with data, which is taking the data in. Okay, so um, yeah. So the other thing is when you are receiving data, um, it's very important that you store it somewhere. Okay, especially when the data is like huge, you don't want to always be calling the same file. Otherwise, you keep on like putting the data in memory and like doing that over and over again. You end up like using too much memory. But what you can do is you can store in one object so you can keep calling that object. So what I will do is create a new file called data object, and then read CSV, and then what I do is very simply look at the name of the file. So it's gym underscore data dot CSV, and so I just do this gym underscore data dot CSV, and I hope this works. Boom. Very good. So right now what we see is that in our data object, in our global environment, we see that sorry for the noise. We see that there's a new object that's been created with, you can see 11 different variables and wow, 184 lines of code. And so we can just click on that. I'm so sorry for the noise. I didn't know this happened. We just click on that and boom. We see that. So this is where we're working. We're working. Yeah, we're working here, right? When you click on that, it opens a different window, and you can like literally like look at like the different like objects, and it's huge, so it takes time to load, right? Sometimes, at least for my bomb computer, right? And you can see it's a lot of data, and that's why it's called big data. And this is not like that data that's that big. Like I worked on a project a few weeks ago for my last semester, and yeah, the data was like in gigabytes. Okay. The data was in gigabytes, which is crazy because it's just an Excel file. Yeah, you can't open it with Excel, crash. So we have to open it with Python. That's how serious it was. Anyway, so yeah, so we have all of these things, and yeah, so this is the data of data you've done. And so at this point, you can start playing around with the data objects. And I don't want to go too far ahead of myself, but I mean you can. So you know how. Let me just open this again, just to show you that um, you have your data. Actually, let's focus on this. So with this, what you see is that there are, like I said, there are 11 different variables in your data object, and so every variable, you need to understand this. Every variable is a column, right? So a number of people is a variable. Remember, we're working with the, yeah, so number of people is a variable. Date is another variable. And timestamp is another variable. Day of the week is another variable. Is weekend is another variable. Is holiday, blah, blah, blah. And so the temperature at the time, and whether it's the start of the semester, whether it's during the semester, like which month, right? These are all different. Um, these are all different. These are all different. Different variables, right? And each row is an observation of variables. So for the first one, the first time that the data was recorded, there were 37 people in the gym. Um, it was on this date. This was a timestamp. Um, this was a timestamp. The day of the week is another variable, which is the fourth day of the week. On that day, it was not a weekend. So when you see zeros, usually it's either 0 or 1, right? So you can look through and see that like the values are just zeros and ones, and so usually 0 means no and 1 means yes. This is just like easy notation in like data science. So it was not a weekend, it was not a holiday. The temperature was 71.6 Fahrenheit. It was not the start of the semester, it was not during the semester. So what it means is it was at the end of the semester. You have to be able to pick out those things. Yeah, it was in August, which is the 8th month, and it was at 17th hour. That's 5 p.m. You see, of that day, and so it's like each row is an observation. So on the 140th observation, um, there were no people in the gym at the time. There was there was nobody in the gym at the time. It was on this date, and the timestamp was 3013, which you can consider as like an ID. Yeah, so you understand how it goes. So the columns are variables, the rows are each individual observation of the variable. Yeah. So, sorry. So I'm happy we will be able to go through this and you understand this. Um, so you can also download the data set, import it yourself, see if you're able to mess around with it. So I can show you. So when you have your data set, you can easily do things with your data set, right? You can like plot particular variables, and we get into that. You can do summary statistics. So let me come back here and do one of the very important things that you should do anytime you have a data, right? So you should look at the structure and you should look at the summary, right? So the structure shows you how basically the data set is structured, right? And so I'll just do it and it lets you see how it's done, and you should do this on your own and practice with it. Okay, so what I was saying was that after you import it, you don't have to like call it anymore. You can just call the variable. Okay, so you want to see the structure of the data object, right? Object. Okay, so let's run this and look at the output. So you see that what you get is like a list of information like this, and it tells you the different things about the information. So one, you know that like it's a data frame with 62,184 observations, and there are 11 variables for each observation. And then you can see the individual observations, and you can see the different things to do with it. Okay, so what you can see here is, you can see that the number of people variable is an integer, and that makes sense because you can't have like 0.25 of a human being because the number of people who are in the gym. You can see a few of the values. You can see like the top few values, and you can see date, which is over here. That's a factor. and we'll get into like some of these things as you ask questions, right? But like a factor just means that it's categorical, and that makes sense because like dates in itself, even though it's written in numbers, isn't like necessarily numerical. Um, so it's a factor, and like these things teach you like get you to be able to understand your data very quickly. And then you go and you see the timestamp is an integer, right? The day of the week is an integer, right? Which is like the fourth day of the week, which makes sense. Whether it's a weekend, holiday, what the temperature is, and it clearly says that the temperature here is in numeric. It doesn't say it's an int because it has a decimal place, right? Which also makes sense. The thing you should notice that sometimes, so while this gives you like an overall like starting understanding of the data, you should know that like the data types is not put inside by the person who created data. Most of the time, people who even create data don't even like put these things in. So this is automatically determined by R, right? R knows that there's no way that the dates can be classified as like an integer, especially with the formatting. Okay. So what you should know is that R automatically does this for you. Okay. If yeah, R automatically does this for you. So you have to use your common sense, right? Over here, the professor saying tuition, right? You have to use that to understand how to go about all of this. So that's to do the structure. I'll leave you to do more things with the structure, and yeah, and yeah. So now let's go to the next thing, which I find is usually more important. So you do a summary, right? And the summary is you do a summary of the data, which is what I'm doing right now. So you have summary and then data. What kind of? No, I'm not talking to myself. Um, so you see that, and you get to see like different like statistics about the object that you just passed it, so the data that you just gave it. So you get to see the minimum value. So like let's take the number of people as a variable. You get to see the minimum value for the variable. You get to see the first quartile, you get to see the median, you get to see the mean, you get to see the third quartile, and you get to see the maximum value, right? And so like that permeates with all of them. And so this kind of gives you an understanding of each variable at the same time, right? Um, yeah, so that's about it. I would say at this point you can play more around the variables. You can play around with like setting your working directory, getting your working directory. Mess around with it a bit. I will give you an access to do import some data. I have a lot more data for you. It's in the folder, the Google Drive. You can download that and like try importing all of them and seeing how it will go. And then look at the structures of like each of the ones you end up um, importing, and then you can yeah and then look at the sum. You just want to like compare and contrast and see what you learn from there, and this would be what you have to do. Okay, I'm done.